There's an old Sephardic story mentioned by the Peleioetz. I'm sure you know that the gold robes that the Jews in Yerushalayim wear originally is Sephardic clothing. You'll see many Turkish Chachamim, Iraqi Chachamim wearing this clothing. And when the Hasidim came to Israel, Ashkenazim in general came to Israel, they adopted this mode of dress. It seems to avoid persecution from the local Arab community who didn't consider the Ashkenazi Jews Jewish. And then by the time the founding of the state of Israel came about and the Sephardim were studying in Ashkenazi yeshivot, the Sephardim put on Polish clothing and the Ashkenazim were left with the Sephardic clothing. And so you have, I was once walking with Harav Peretz and he stopped one of these Hasidim with the gold robe and he said, look what an upside down, Olam hafuch anyway, it's an upside down world. You're wearing my grandfather's clothing and I'm wearing your grandfather's clothing. That's part of the way the world works. In any case, I was telling you about him because you'll notice that on the gold robe that is worn, when walking in the street, certain Yerushalmi Jews will cover their gold robe with what? Brown. But what kind of brown? If you had to go to the store and choose the ugliest fabric brown you could possibly imagine, like if you're wearing gold and it's gorgeous, you're choosing mamash the most hideous version of brown you can find in the fabric aisle of the store. Don't be scared. I'm not telling you brown is ugly. Yeah, look at me. I'm telling you that this color of brown that they use is ugly. Why do they do it? Because chas v'shalom, you should walk around the streets poking out the eyes of the non-Jewish Arabs. This was a consciousness of the Jew in Galut. I can't walk around with gold clothing. Look at they're poor. They're going to look at me on Shabbat, all dressed up so nicely. So I want to cover it up. This was a very classic thing. You'll find that Ben Ish Chai, for example, in Baghdad, he mentions that though the Kabbalists were particular to wear their talit from their home to the Beit HaKnesset, that because the talitot were nice and they were maybe afraid of anti-Semites or whatever wearing their talitot in the streets, they would wear a special kind of talit that was very thin, made out of a cheap material under their clothing. And when they would get to the Beit HaKnesset, they would switch into something nicer. This is a very common mentality of Jews that lived among anti-Semitic populations. But they say, the Peleioetz writes, that the name Abarbanel, Abravnel, it comes from the word bravo. Likely, my friends, this is not an accurate story, but the message behind it is true. And that is that the Sephardim had in their mind a memory that the wife of Rabbi Yitzchak Abarbanel, who I'm assuming was a great tzaddiket, and they're just pinning it on Jewish royalty of the time, they would walk in the streets wearing gold and silver and diamonds, and the non-Jewish citizens of the city were very jealous, and they would say, bravo, bravo, and ultimately the Peleioetz blames the expulsion from Spain on the Jews who were showing off too much in the eyes of the non-Jews. I'm just telling you that story as a musar, that forget Jews and non-Jews. The way that you dress, the way that you appear to other people, the way that you present your assets and your finances and your wealth, all of that is directly connected to the levels of jealousy that a person welcomes into their life. And in my education, my rabbis and teachers were very conscious of the fact that yes, there is a prohibition of being jealous and wanting from other people. There's also a prohibition of not causing other people to be jealous or want things from us.